Hey everyone, alright guys, now I have a real treat for you. I'm going to show you how to make authentic Italian fresh homemade pasta. Now homemade pasta is a tough one. It takes time, it takes a lot of energy, and if you have a stand-at-home mixer, it'll make things way easier. I'm not going to be using one, so I'm going to be showing you how to do it by hand. Now real Italian pasta uses Type 00, which is basically a much more refined, lighter flour. So not all purpose, but if you don't have Type 00, just use all purpose. But for authenticity, you want to use the Type 00, also mixed with semul or semolina flour as well. The best ratio is 50% flour and 50% semolina flour. So let's go ahead, I'm going to show you how to make it. We're going to need simple ingredients: semolina flour, normal Type 00 flour or all-purpose flour, whatever you have at home, and eggs. That's it. Let's get started. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open up our scale, tare it. Once it hits 0, I'm gonna use 200 grams of semolina. Perfect, almost there. 180, oh, we just went a bit over. So we're just gonna add the same amount of flour. We're aiming for 450 all in. And perfect. All right, 450. Now we're gonna move it to the side, get all the flour onto the counter, tap it out, and we're gonna start mixing it with our hands to blend the semolina with the flour nice and well. Some people like to add salt into this, but really you don't need to, because once you cook pasta, you're gonna be adding a lot of salt, and that's really what's gonna give it its flavor. Now make a well in the center of the flour, and we're gonna be adding in 4 eggs. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. A question that I get asked all the time when it comes to fresh homemade pasta is, how do you get it to taste al dente? Homemade pasta is very difficult to get to that kind of box al dente taste. But what you have to do is you have to make sure that the flour and the eggs are extremely well kneaded together and that it dries out completely. Otherwise, you won't get that al dente taste. So let's continue and let's see how it comes out. Now with a fork, start whisking those eggs within the well. You don't want to break up the well, you don't want to break up those barriers, and start incorporating the flour slowly as you continue to mix. There we go, scrape the edges. Now keep on going until the texture becomes a little bit harder and we can start using our hands. Get that flour in and get to kneading. We're going to want to incorporate as much of the flour in as possible. So start kneading with both hands, and we're aiming for about 10 minutes of intense kneading. Now you're gonna realize, hey, this feels pretty dry. So add in a little bit of olive oil and keep on going. It is gonna be quite intense, especially without a mixer.
Not stopping, let's go. I wanted to work out today, here it is. I'm telling you, it's so important to make sure that you keep on going for at least 10 minutes, at least. You want it to be completely homogeneous, not too dry, not too wet. And if you feel that it's starting to get a little bit too dry, just rinse your hands or wet them just slightly and keep going at it. You want it to become like a ball that once you push or put pressure on, it just bounces right back.
All right, we're about 9 minutes. Let's see how we're doing. Okay, we got to keep on going. So we're going to keep kneading for another maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And here we go.
Oh, look at that. Perfect bounce back.
Now that's perfect. The gluten is fighting back and causing the dough to push right back against me.
Whew, wow. All right, so now we're going to cover it with plastic wrap and we're going to let it relax and rest for about 30 minutes. We're going to let that gluten slowly relax, because now it's very tense, and that's why it bounces back. We worked on it very hard, and now we let it relax. Now, if you guys are using a KitchenAid or a standalone mixer, you want to go for about 6 to 8 minutes. That should be plenty. All right, so we'll see you in 30 minutes. All right, guys, 30 minutes has passed, and now we're going to jump right into the next step: cutting it up, flattening it out, and making that delicious pasta. Before we do, give us a thumbs up, that button's right below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you can keep up with everything Impossibly Kosher has going on. Now enough talking, let's get back to it.
Now this is my pasta roller. You start off always on the biggest setting. In this case, it's setting 7. Now you're gonna start off by cutting out that dough. Let's get that film off and keep it for later. Cut your dough in half, in quarters, and then one more time into eighths. In my opinion, this is perfect amount just for one serving. So we're gonna start with that. Get everything back in the saran wrap so it doesn't dry out. Flatten out your piece. Dust on some semolina, just like that. Dust out the mixer and start mixing. Remember, mode 7. We go through once, we fold it, and we put them back in. Perfect. Now that it's flattened twice, we're gonna try one more time. Fold it, put it right back through. All right, perfect. Personally, I like to flour it with semolina instead of normal flour. That's just the way I was taught to do it. And now we move on to mode 6. Now you're gonna keep on going on each mode 2 times through the flattener. Keep on going and going. And in between each time, you're gonna wanna sprinkle on just a little bit more flour. This is a trick that I learned on masterclass of Gordon Ramsay, where basically you start flailing it like a crazy person on the table full of flour. Easy way to get it coated. There we go. And we just keep going through all the way until mode 2. You don't want to go to the last one because that's really for very, very, very thin pastas. Now we get on our accessory and we're going to start with fettuccine pasta. Sprinkle a little flour on there and we're starting to process it right through. Look how nice that looks. It's shaving off the ends, folding so beautifully on itself. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Fresh homemade pasta, guys. How can it get better than this? Now gently take it, sprinkle some more flour on top. Perfect. And then toss it gently. This is so that the flour gets all over it and it doesn't stick to each other. Remember, there's still some moisture inside. Now keep going with each part of the eighth in the size that you want, in the shape that you want, until you find something that is just right for you. For us, we made a bunch of fettuccine, some spaghetti as well. I got a couple in the freezer and now we're gonna be ready to get cooking. These ones are gonna be dried out in lengths while the rest are like in bird's nests. And look at that beautiful mess I have to clean. That's gonna be fun. All right, now that we're all done, we're gonna be boiling these bad boys and getting our meal ready. Now for our meal, we're gonna need a nice amount of Parmesan. I actually got this Parmesan from Italy, so it's 100% kosher. If you don't have that, don't worry, just get it from your local grocery store. And with that, let's start cooking. Water in a pot, get it on the stove on high heat. We're gonna go ahead and add in a nice amount of salt. This is what's gonna give it the flavor, guys. You're probably asking yourself, why did I just put so much salt inside? Well, when you're making pasta, you want the water to be very, very salty. Salty like the ocean. Why? So that when it's cooking the pasta, that salt penetrates deep and it gives it incredible flavor. That's where it gets the flavor from, not from salting it after. Now today, we're gonna be using this pan as soon as the pasta is done to make authentic Alfredo sauce. Once the water's boiling, plop in your pasta and start mixing it right away. Fresh pasta takes no longer than a minute to max. You wanna go for that al dente feel. The heat is on the pan. We're gonna start draining it. Perfect. We're just gonna take a little bit of the pasta water for the sauce. And perfect. Now bring it back and pour it on to medium heat onto the butter and pour your Parmesan right over it. Guys, that's all you need for an Alfredo sauce. There's no cream. You just add in a bit of the pasta water, which is filled with delicious starch. It will help dissolve that incredible Parmesan and you keep on mixing into that butter and pasta. Once you're done, you serve it in your plate. And now my personal preference is I like to add in some freshly cracked black pepper. This isn't the authentic way, but it's my own preference, right? So I just added on some freshly ground black pepper. That's my own personal taste. Now let's see how it comes out. Oh, the Parmesan is so incredible. Butter, it's simple, it's delicious. You don't need to add cream, guys. You don't need to add peas. You don't need to add corn. Keep it simple. Parmesan, butter, fettuccine or spaghetti, whatever you want. Classic Alfredo sauce. Enjoy.